longtime CBS UN senior correspondent, Dr. Pamela Falk. Dr. Falk, great to have you.
Good morning, John. Good to be here on Common Sense.
Happy Easter, and I hope you had a wonderful holiday with your family.
Yes, happy Easter. My son came in from San Francisco, so I'm happy.
Oh, that's good. Okay, we got the fam together. That's a
fam
good thing.
Together.
Yeah, got the fam together.
Looking for Easter eggs.
Now, is your husband going to run for mayor again?
No, he never ran. No, he likes to watch the scene.
Oh, anybody to get de Blasio out of that. I'm for Falk
I can't
right
comment
now.
on that.
Get de Blasio out. Okay.
You know, he was my student once.
De Blasio, I know.
Yeah, which doesn't mean I'm old and he's young. He was returning to school, but not all lessons are mine.
Did he pass?
Yo, did very well.
This UN deal. What do you? Before we get the commentary around, what does Pamela Falk make of this?
Well, this deal is only as good as it's enforceable. So on paper, it looks pretty tight. But the real question is, how much do the Iranians really want that, or do they want the sanctions lifted? And the skepticism, curiously, about the deal is coming from both Iran and from Israel, because both of them know there's something funny about this deal. You can't lift all sanctions, which is what the Iranians think is happening, immediately, and then think that you're really stopping a development of a nuclear weapon. So if it really is what the paper said, which is what the White House released and the world powers, which is there's a restriction on uranium enrichment and cutting of enrichment by 2/3, and uranium stockpile is reduced and exported, and inspections are going to be really tough. It looks good. So it's why you didn't hear a lot of response to it in the very beginning, because it looks great. And then sanctions are only lifted when all of this happens. But the Iranians, within 15 minutes of releasing that paper, the Iranian Foreign Minister, Javad Zarif, said, wait a minute, that's not what we agreed to. So this was not a piece of paper, the joint comprehensive plan of action that was developed and announced by both sides. It was the U.S. and Western powers, and the Iranians don't agree with what was said. So I think the next 3 months are going to be a lot of haggling on the real deal.
Well, is there a document with signatures?
No. And in fact, not at all. In fact, there wasn't supposed to be a document. This was supposed to be an agreement, but everyone wanted to know what's the basic framework of the agreement. So the U.S. and Western powers, which is the 5 permanent members of the Security Council, plus Russia and China, and Germany, they all set out an outline of what they said was agreed to and distributed it. But usually in a negotiation, both sides, meaning those six powers plus Iran, would issue a statement. Only the 6 powers issued the statement, and Iran immediately said that's not what we agreed to. So it's why you saw the Israeli Prime Minister all weekend telling U.S. TV networks that he's trying to kill a bad deal, because if you lift the sanctions right away, that's it. I mean, how do you get compliance?
And let's go right to Bibi's comments.
The deal would not shut down a single nuclear facility in Iran, would not destroy a single centrifuge in Iran, and will not stop R&D on Iran's advanced centrifuges. On the contrary, the deal would legitimize Iran's illegal nuclear program. It would leave Iran with a vast nuclear infrastructure. A vast nuclear infrastructure remains in place. The deal would lift sanctions almost immediately, and this at the very time that Iran is stepping up its aggression and terror in the region and beyond the region. In a few years, the deal would remove the restrictions on Iran's nuclear program, enabling Iran to have a massive enrichment capacity that it could use to produce many nuclear bombs within a matter of months. Such a deal does not block Iran's path to the bomb. Such a deal paves Iran's path to the bomb. And it might very well spark a nuclear arms race throughout the Middle East and it would greatly increase the risks of terrible war. The survival of Israel is non-negotiable. Israel will not accept an agreement which allows a country that vows to annihilate us to develop nuclear weapons, period. In addition, Israel demands that any final agreement with Iran will include a clear and unambiguous Iranian commitment of Israel's right to exist. Thank you.
Okay, that was Bibi making a statement.
Right.
Is he right?
Essentially, he is. I mean, what you're also hearing at the UN and around is that a number of senior officials in Arab countries, the Gulf Cooperation Council, and Saudi Arabia, saying that they intend to seek Pakistan's help in getting a nuclear weapon if this deal goes forward, because why would, you're seeing all these proxy wars, Saudi Arabia versus Iran and Yemen and Iraq and Syria, real big wars, and if Iran gets a weapon, Shia state, why wouldn't the Sunnis want it? So once you have that kind of an arms race in the Middle East, get under your bed. This is really dangerous. This deal is basically, John, like telling a child, and this is sometimes what I think when I watch international affairs, it's like establishing frontiers, discipline, borders of what activities can be. It's like telling a child, if you get all A's, you'll get a chocolate cake, and then delivering the chocolate cake. So why, maybe the child will. It's based on an awful lot of compliance and good faith by the Iranians. The Iranians? Really?
Well,
the reason they're under UN sanctions is because they got caught with their hands in the cookie jar. They were violating the deal. They had secret military dimension nuclear facilities. And so this weekend, it was Zarif, the foreign minister of Iran, Javad Zarif, and the main negotiator, saying that this deal did not say that the sanctions are only lifted if they comply. It said immediately. So, they're happy with it because they say, oh my gosh, their stock market immediately went up, they're going to get a lot of money, and it doesn't restrict some of the scary facilities. Like there's one called Fordo that what I call is Israel-proof. It's built underground, so there's no way, or at least it's less likely, that it could be bombed, let's say, if they do develop a nuclear weapon. So it says that will be a research and development facility. Well, 1 month ago, John, 1 month, the International Atomic Energy Agency, Yukio Amano, who heads it, said, we have questions, you haven't answered our questions about the military components of the nuclear facilities that were there, so why is this agreement going to be any more likely to be enforced than the old ones? It's a scary scenario because I think the Obama administration does really want the deal that they laid out, but it doesn't sound like the Iranians have any interest in doing that. They want the money up front.
Well, it's ridiculous because you've got two sides claiming a deal that the other says doesn't exist, so I don't even know what kind of a deal you have. And let's get to congressional oversight of this. Unfortunately, Senator from New Jersey, Bob Menendez, indicted. I don't know what's going to happen with that. He had to step down from the Foreign Relations Committee, but he had submitted legislation. Basically, he's been a thorn in the side for Obama on this whole Iranian situation since it almost started. But he had legislation that basically said you can't make this deal without Congress sanctioning it because we Congress, put the sanctions in. We have to take them out. You can't do that unilaterally. But now other Democrats are saying, well, this is just, what chief executives do. So which is it?
It's a little bit of both. Some of the sanctions have waivers by the president, and usually sanctions are presidential executive authority, but some of these were put in through legislation, and those would have to be undone through legislation. So because some of them are UN sanctions and some of them are U.S. direct sanctions, and the U.S. sanctions, some of them are put in with waivers by the president. So it's likely that a lot of them can be undone by the president, but it also politically would be unlikely that the president would make this deal with so much congressional questioning without consulting with them. And it sounds like he's going to bring it to Congress and discuss it and try to pitch it, so to speak, on Capitol Hill to both Republicans and Democrats.
So, Pamela Falk, what happens if he does that and there is a vote on it and it goes down, it loses in both houses, which is likely based on what I've heard from people? I mean, there's just not a lot of appetite here for Republicans going into 2016 to say this is a good idea. So it's going to go down in the House, it's going to go down in the Senate. Then what happens?
Well, I think if it gets to Congress in that kind of a way, it would be good if Congress really presses the president about what is the deal, because rather than just kill it and then have everyone blame the Congress for a deal that doesn't work, and then, of course, the Iranians will go on and probably start enriching uranium in a bigger way. But to expose the deal. In other words, a lot of it's done in a way that seems to be there's one level that the administration is trying to sell to the public, here's what the deal is, but another level in which the Iranians seem to think he said, don't worry about it, we'll lift the sanctions right away. Expose it, and I think a lot of people, including the administration, will start to realize they can't make that deal. Now, they may make another deal, and that's what the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu wants, is make a tight deal, make a real deal that will work. And if you can do that, especially while the sanctions are in, because Iran is desperate for the money, and even the Ayatollah, who may not live that much longer, seems to want this as his legacy. This, Ali Khamenei wants it as his legacy. So you've got hand, as Seinfeld would say. You've got the edge right now. The idea would be to have a good deal. If they can push him into a good deal, that would be the better option.
Well, that's I think that's a better option, but I don't see that. Yeah, I don't see that coming in. You know, the other thing, we're out of time, Dr. Falk, but the other thing that is troublesome is, when these sanctions go away, it's going to infuse tens of billions of dollars into the Iranian economy.
Right.
And they're going to take that money and they're going to continue to fund their proxy ally terrorists around the Middle East. So I guess for some of us, you look at this and you say, at the end of the day, the sanctions worked. It's crippling their economy. Why would we be changing this now? It doesn't make any sense at all. So we'll have to see how it plays out. Yeah,
it's a very good point. I mean, in Yemen, they've basically supported Houthi rebels that have taken over a legitimate government. So, and a lot of other things going on around the world, especially Hamas and Hezbollah that threaten Israel. So it's a very tough balance of power right now, and you can't mess around with it too much.
Dr. Falk, we're out of time. What's your Twitter handle?
At Pamela Falk. Thank you so much. Love the show. You know that.